Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Trevor's Vinyl World. Hope everybody's doing well. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about a movie I really like. I'm going to show two first that are not the movie we're going to talk about, but they are related. First one I'm going to show Terminator with Arnold. Awesome. Might talk about it one day. And the other one is with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Nowhere to Run. Not one of his more well-known ones, but it's one of the only DVDs that I have of Jean-Claude. I gotta change that. I love that guy. But the reason I showed those two is because we are going to talk about 1987 Predator, the original. And the reason I showed you Van Damme's movie is because here on the back is the Predator. Okay, well, originally, Jean-Claude Van Damme was going to be the Predator. They brought him in. They shot 2 days worth of film, and it wasn't working out because he's not 7'2" like the guy that they ended up going with. But no, they had this weird like suit that he'd wear, and it just wasn't gonna work. So yeah, that's one of those trivia things that Van Damme was affiliated with this movie Predator, but I really love the movie Predator. It at this time, we're talking 1987, and just an amazing action film, and to explain the all-star cast, I don't even have enough time to do it. I mean, you got Arnold Schwarzenegger, who played Dutch, and he's basically the head of this special forces unit that is sent into somewhere in Central America, even though the whole thing was filmed in Mexico. But basically the plot is that they are flown into this part of Central America, and they are doing a mission. And then so you got Arnold, and then you got Carl Weathers. Rest in peace, Carl Weathers. He's awesome in this. He plays Dylan. And then you got Sonny Landham, who plays Billy, who's pretty psychotic, and he's like their tracker. He's like able to, track anything down. And then you got Bill Duke, who plays Mac. He is a guy that was also in Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Real badass guy. He's actually one of my favorite guys in this. He's the one that is running in the jungle, and he's yelling like, we're gonna have some fun," or "I'm gonna have me some fun." And he just kind of goes nuts because he sees the Predator before any of the others, and they kind of think he's a little crazy. But so you got him, and then you got a guy that plays Pancho. That's Richard Chavez. Shane Black is Hawkins. And then the guy who actually ended up playing the Predator, 7'2", Kevin Peter Hall. Rest in peace to him. He died of a blood transfusion. This is back when they hadn't perfected blood transfusions yet. And well, he didn't die from that, but basically when he got a blood transfusion, he contracted HIV virus, and then he ended up dying of complications from pneumonia. So yeah, that's sad. He was also in Predator 2, and then he was in Harry and the Hendersons. And I guess he was a pro basketball player in Venezuela before his acting career. And of course, I got a shout out to Jesse Ventura is in this, and he plays a guy named Blaine. This is just Special Forces versus Alien. You got the most badass guys at the time going up against this alien. And I really think that the producers of this movie dropped the ball. They should not have killed everybody off because they should have known that this was going to be a awesome movie and there was going to end up being sequels. And I think, like, you got to figure Arnold wasn't going to come back for the sequels, but even if you would have just kept Jesse Ventura's character alive or bring back Jean-Claude Van Damme, I got a whole list here of possibilities of people that I think for Predator Part 2 who they could have at least brought in. And let's get out of these 7 or 8 people, I think 4 or 5 of them should have been in Predator Part 2. So let me know what you think. I'm gonna go with these are some people that like picture them as Special Forces unit in the sequel, and let me know what you think. And you don't have to all be like like big tough guys, because you need a bomb specialist, you need a tracker, you need like mercenaries, you need a leader. So they kind of all play different roles. But these are just some people I thought of. Forrest Whitaker, he was a prominent actor at the time. He definitely could have been someone that is part of a special forces unit. Alan Payne, who played G Money in New Jack City, kind of a badass character. I'd like to see what he would have done in the jungle with a gun. Linda Hamilton, who was Sarah Connor in Terminator. I'd be, it's a possibility. Let's bring back Van Damme. Let's give him an actual role where people see that it's Van Damme. That would be kind of cool. And then the girl from Point Break that was Keanu Reeves' love interest, her name was Lori Petty. She was also in Tank Girl. I always liked her. Just kind of a spunky chick. So maybe her, maybe Christian Slater, and then Emilio Estevez. He might, some of these they may have wanted too much money, but you never know. And then another one, Lou Diamond Phillips, and then the last one I thought of was how about Brian Bosworth, the Boz? He was in a movie called Stone Cold. It's kind of like a biker gang gets infiltrated by this undercover cop, and that was really the only movie that Brian Bosworth did. This would have been, Predator Part 2, have Brian Bosworth, Van Damme, Lori Petty, Alan Payne, Forrest Whitaker. I mean, just, throwing some ideas out there. Maybe even like an Ice-T. Because Predator 2 sucked. Predator 2 had Danny Glover, and it was released in 1990, and it was supposed to be in the future, 1997, in smog central LA, and it's horrible. It's almost unwatchable how stupid it is, and compared to this one, wow. And it was all the same producers as the first Predator, so I don't understand why they didn't have some hindsight of like, hey, in case we make a sequel to this movie, let's have an idea of who from the first one could still be in it. And then I just want to give a shout out to the lady that played Anna in the original Predator. It was actress, and she ended up being a kind of a big time movie director, but her name is Elpidia Carrillo. This was sort of her breakout mainstream American movie. She had done a bunch of like Mexican films and other TV shows, but this was her big breakout. So Predator, awesome movie. I just wish that they would have thought about, the sequel better. And in the comments, let me know what you think about Predator. And everyone, have a good one. Talk to you later.